Talk about this performance and how special this is doing it in Eden Park.
Yeah, we can talk about that all. How are you, JK? Are you all right?
I'm struggling.
I don't want to get...
Struggling, mate. Struggling.
Mate, you know.
But congratulations. Well deserved,
Thank
mate.
you.
Breakdown is brought to you by Nurofen Duralast. Available every day at Chemist Warehouse.
Tēnā koutou katoa, welcome into the breakdown, and well, we have our champions, the Crusaders, once again. The dynasty, it continues. 6 titles on the bounce, 13 titles in 26 years. It is a phenomenal record. Jeff Wilson, Mills Muliaina, Sir John Kerwin, JK. We've just seen Razor ask you,
JK,
but 24 hours on.
Okay, there you go, mate. There you go. There's some tissues.
Thank you very much.
There's some tissues.
This is for all us Blues supporters. Yeah, no, look, totally outclassed, totally outplayed. I think the thing for all of us that have watched the Crusaders this year, Mills, we saw a few clinks in their armour, a couple of losses, and we thought, you know, we've got a bit of a sniff, but they were unbelievable last night. We as Blues fans, have to take our hat off to them and go, how good was that?
Yeah. Absolutely outstanding. And I think, you know, we were out in the rain, weren't we, Kirsty? And we thought, oh, man, here we go.
Hold on, is that a subtle dig?
Is that
a subtle dig about where we were?
No, as soon as we saw the weather. Are you making excuses,
Stop
Mel?
raining. What are you on about?
My working style clothes, man, got all soaked. Oh. Damn it. But we thought, OK, the Crusaders were going to come out and play this, you know, 8-man or 5-man sort of game, but they didn't. You know, they mixed it up. They challenged the outsides, the kicking games, the kicking game that they played. Quite phenomenal, Goldie.
Yeah, look, the first thing for me was 43,000 people. 43,000 people. I think for me, Kirsty, that was what we were looking for. We wanted the stage to be set. We got the game we wanted in terms of the match-up. I just don't know if we got the contest we were looking for, but that comes down to the class of the Crusaders. We've got a lot more to talk about in the show.
We do have a lot more to talk about. The celebrations have well and truly kicked off Christchurch Airport this morning, and now the team is celebrating, and they deserve so as well. Let's talk Super Rugby with Nurofen, available at Chemist Warehouse.
This, surely, for the Blues, is the moment of truth.
You have to hand it to them, Jeff. 6 titles in a row. They are like our Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan. And David Havili said after the game to you, Mills, this is what dreams are made of. They are a great team.
World-class performance in their most difficult stage. They weren't at home. They rose to the challenge. They did everything they needed to do. Clearly well prepared, clearly well coached, Mills. They went out and delivered, and they're big players, and they had plenty of them. I don't think there wasn't a player who didn't deliver on the night, and that tells you how good this side and how good this environment is.
Oh, it was an onslaught right from the get-go, and it's interesting talking to Scott Barrett, and he was quite nervous, you know. Like you mentioned, the fact that they had to come to Auckland, they're away from home, this is new territory in terms of a final, but everyone was on the same page, and they had real self-belief, you know, that what they were going into, you know, they were going to come away with the goods. I mean, there was a period there when the Blues really defended, and you thought, man, if they could hold on, you know, it could possibly, you know, the momentum could swap the other way. But JK, they were just on a different level.
I think the disappointing thing from a Blues perspective was actually Sam Lock. We spoke about it all week, didn't we? We spoke about Sam Whitelock having something up his sleeve, especially from the line-out point of view. And it started there, and the Blues didn't really deal with it. And then we saw some of the old habits coming in, like pushing that pass, Goldie, you know, where they were trying to create something instead of being patient. I can't remember them having the ball with any sequence of play where they didn't make a mistake until the second half. And that's just pressure. That's just, you're waiting for a final, you get there, and then it's not what you expect, and you've got this juggernaut in front of you. So I thought there was some really interesting performances. I thought Whitelock was outstanding. I thought Scott I thought Scott Barrett, after his red card, was a little bit tentative, but last night he got back to just that really devastating, really tough play at the ruck. So for me, it was a real game that you talk about setting it up front, you know.
We talked about it last night, and we'll talk about it for many weeks to come in regards to their performance being based on the back of one thing, and their line-out defence was the one factor that the Blues didn't counter. And it meant that they were in control of the ball, in control of territory and where they played the game. We'll look at the stats a little bit later on. But bottom line, the Blues were never in a field position and were never in control of possession to get their game going. And this is the thing that probably was disappointing, if I'm thinking from a Blues perspective, is the fact, what have the Crusaders done in all of their title reigns? They focus at the source. And the source of the game is the set piece. Yep. Whether it be the line-out or the scrum, pure and simple, Mills, that's the fundamentals of the game. That's where you have to start and prepare for. And when they put pressure on here at source, it just takes you right out of their game. This is where they were remarkable. And you talk about being on the same page. They were on the same page as the Blues line-out. And this is where this game, for me, was won and lost, because the Blues were never in it the moment they couldn't control possession.
How did they not see that coming, though?
Well, that's what I was going to say. When it rained, you thought, OK, we need to refocus on the set piece. You know, everything is really crucial, and we're playing a side that's probably #1 in the world at getting their set piece, you know, sort of when it comes to finals football. They didn't adapt, and then the confidence went out. They went to the front. They were hesitant at the front. They needed something a little bit different. And so I guess in terms of, you know, finals hardened, they weren't quite there. And then the momentum was with the Crusaders the whole night.
Oh, look, you needed to go to 3-man, you need to go to 5-man, you need to mix it up quick. I mean, I think, actually, if you think about what's positive out of this, I think it's the beginning of the Blues. I remember in 1983, we went down to Canterbury Country. We were probably the favourites, and they just pantsed us. It was unbelievable. And we came back in 85 and won it. But that was the right, we're actually not good enough. Yes. And you've got to keep working hard.
See, Kirsty, I look at this, though, and I look at this Crusaders group, and Bryn Hall is the only piece of the puzzle that's leaving right now.
Pablo Matera's...
Oh, Pablo Matera as well, but it's not like they haven't got an Ethan Blackadder coming back next season.
So how do you not see them winning another title already?
Well, it's not winning a title, but being the same side, being the team that goes into this situation, they'll be in part of the playoffs going forward and incredibly difficult to beat. And the fact that they have transitioned through some great players, but you think of the guys who didn't play this season. No Joe Moody. In fact, Sam Whitelock missed games. I just look at this, and they are a remarkable franchise who continue to set the standard. Yeah. And once again, in 12 months' time, we could be sitting here once again talking about a fantastic, fantastic season.
Yeah, well, I think they've set the standard, and but other teams are rising. I think the Blues have had an amazing season. They're getting better. They will be hurting like crazy, and I think that when someone sets a standard, the Auckland team probably did in the 80s, then the Canterbury team took over, and the Crusaders have been setting the standard for how long, Mills? Probably 20 years now. So other teams are now going, right, the Blues nearly got their season right, and they didn't get the last week or the last 80 minutes. The Crusaders probably had their best game last night, and the Blues probably had their worst. You can't do that, Mills, in finals footy.
No, you can't, but I suppose... you know, the terrifying thing is from other franchises is now the Crusaders have got a blueprint of how to win in this sort of way, you know, during the season. Wasn't as fluent as perhaps they would have wanted it to be, but look how they finish off. So here's another real massive sort of advantage to them going forward. I agree with you. I think the Blues, I think there will be confidence here. They've got a hell of a lot of young guys that are coming through. Just remember Cygnus, you know, Sullivan, Lamb, Derry, McKenzie, Evans, you know, Vikena and Funaki. That's a big chunk that, you know, Leon McDonald has really, you know, given them some experience. So in terms of what you're saying, I think they are. I think they'll be building nicely. He's rotated his squad throughout the season, so it's been quite good.
Did we miss Patrick Tuipulotu?
We'll talk about that in a minute, because I think, you know, when you talk about the lock position, I want to talk a bit more in depth when we talk about the Blues. I do want to touch on the stats, though, of the game, because sometimes the stats don't tell the story. These stats, they tell the story of this.
Ooh!
Yeah, and pure and simple.
Take them down straight away. Look at that.
You won't have to suffer too much longer. You won't have to suffer too much longer. But bottom line, you don't control possession, you don't control territory. 8 minutes and 47 seconds in your own 22, Mills, if you're the Blues. That's the sort of dominance you talk about. In fact, they did well not to get beaten by more. Let's be honest. There were 4 or 5 tries. Leicester Fainga'anuku probably scored in the first half. It just, you didn't see the grounding on the grass. But the big key stat there, and there it is, 47% line-out accuracy. You're not going to win a title on that. They go from making 220 plus tackles one week to 115. I was impressed not just by the nature of this win, but also all of a sudden they actually went off the page a little bit in attack, Mills, this Crusaders side. They went off the page and all of a sudden Richie Mo'unga was at his very, very best, where he got given a licence, he adjusted his depth, and we saw the best of not just their forward pack, but David Havili, Leicester Fainga'anuku, Jack Goodhue. This was a complete performance. Sevu Reece. There wasn't one man out in that field. I don't even talk about Will Jordan yet and his balance on attack. Remarkable, remarkable all-round game from the entire team.
Well, you're absolutely right. The balance of their game, so they bet the guys up front, you know, they've got real parity out there, and then they go to the confidence of this. But it needs execution. You need skill execution in weak conditions to be able to pull this sort of stuff. Havili, for me, he was outstanding last night, and the pressure that he took off Mo'unga, and then when you sort of relied on, you know, making sure you covered Havili, and then Fainga'anuku pops up, and then you cover those guys, and what happens? The magician of Mo'unga. You know, he comes out of nowhere when he's under pressure. So threats all around. But the way they went in there, the coaching staff, you've got to take your hat off to them as well, because, you know, their game plan was right on point, even to their kicking game. I mean, they beat the Blues at that as well.
Outcoached, weren't they? Leon McDonald said it's like they had our playbook. It's like they knew where we were going.
Jake, I got to ask you, did they get their selections right? When you think about what they had coming off the bench, now I'm not sure where Dalton Papali'i was health-wise going in, but he was fit to play, and I know the decision was made late. But Carl Tunukuafe, Luke Romano, Ofa Tuangafasi, should some of those guys started? Did they need more options? You talk about a line-out time. I'll just throw this to you, fact. They didn't have the opportunity to change their line-out because they didn't have a line-out jumper on the bench. No James Tucker for this game. I look at this, did they get their selections slightly wrong?
Oh, retrospectively, possibly. I probably would have played Romano just because you know Whitelock's coming and he's going to throw...
But he's not a line-out jumper.
Yeah, but it's not often that. It's the calmness under pressure. Like, I understand the stats, I get all that, but there were moments for me, like that try just before half-time, Mills, was a moment where the Blues, actually, you go in at half-time and it's 3-0 and they've thrown everything at you.
6-0, you're right.
You know, 6-0, sorry. Yeah, so the Crusaders going, we just threw everything at them and they kept us out. But that try just before half-time, they did win those moments. So I think it's about pressure. And losing the line out is not about what you do. It's about someone being really calm in there. You know, Romano going and push someone, you know, and slow it down and start confusing it himself. What we did is we just went from line out to line out, hoping it'd get better. So I think that was experience. I was really surprised that when Ofa came on, the front row got pumped a wee bit. I don't know what happened there. I thought Sam Knott came on and normally he does a decent job and he made a few errors. So there was just a whole list of things that didn't go their way, and that's pressure, I believe.
Mills, the changes in the midfield, though. Taking off Roger Tuivasa-Sheck that early, when you're thinking to yourself, you need guys who can break a defensive line that has been the best in the last couple of weeks. Well, I haven't heard anything that he's injured. They bring on Bryce Heem. He's not necessarily going to break. If you want solid and you're in front, Bryce Heem's your man. Yeah. But when you're trying to break the line, surely you're leaving him out there.
And I guess when you look at both sides, perhaps that does paint it. You know, one team all on the same page. The others, even when you come off the bench, you know, what are we actually trying to change? You bring Bryce Heem on. I know they went over the top to over the line out to him as well to try and change that. But that's still quite risky. And it was slow ball because it was lobbed. You know, when you take Roger Tuivasa-Sheck off and then bring Romano in there, what are you actually trying to come up with to try and beat this? So, and then when the guys go out there, they play like individuals, and I think they're right off their own. Don't get me wrong, they were trying. You know, they were going to go out there and try and spark something, and Dalton Papali'i almost did. But unfortunately, it almost looked like there was nothing they were going to go to next after they're bombarded by a Crusaders outfit.
Can I ask you a question, JK? You talk about...
No.
I'm going to ask you a question. You said it was
I've had enough of
You said it was their worst performance of the season. What about the week
Crusaders.
before? No, for the Blues. You said that was their worst performance of the season. Did they have momentum on the back end of their year going into the final compared to the Crusaders, who, after they lost to the Waratahs, for me, were dominant? They started winning by big margins. They started controlling their destiny. They started to bring all of their players back into the fold. The Blues, I think, in the back end, I don't think they were playing at their best. And maybe if you look at the course of their season, you go through all of their results, they were lucky to win a number of games. They held on against the Force. 2 drop goals, one against the Brumbies, one against the Waratahs in the final moment. For me, I look at it and go, you know what? Was this in some ways about coming in and knowing exactly how to time your run and the final 80 minutes of the season?
No.
Go on, get me if you can.
No. The answer is that this young Blues side have never lived 12 games in a row winning. They've never been in a semi-final that they won by 1 point late. They're living this experience where they're going, wow. Whereas the Crusaders, they've been doing this for 20 years. They know they've got enough experience that goes, actually, we lost against the Waratahs. I bet you the leaders stood up and said, you and you got to pick your game up. Whereas the Blues are sort of living this, wow, we're in the finals. Wow, we're winning. Wow, we're unbeaten at home. Wow. So they're actually not going through the game in itself. And you know, they're winning moments. They go down to the Crusaders and they win down there. Now, if you look at it coldly, the Crusaders were coming back hard, right? And thank God the clock ran out. But they're just living these moments at the moment. So they're not even thinking about it. Everything's good, right? When you're winning like the Blues have, when you haven't won like that.
Well, you've got to recognise, though, when it's not dominant, though, and when you're not controlling your destiny. And I come back to the fact
But you don't know your destiny, mate. That's the issue. You don't know your destiny.
Well, they thought their destiny was to win a title.
I actually think when Leon McDonald looks back at it, he rotated his squad, you know, the majority of the season. I just don't think they had sort of that settled side leading into the finals. Like when you look at, you know, before the quarterfinals, you had different props. You know, Hodgman was there, Tu'unukuafe, then you had, you know, Tu'ungafasi come on. You know, in the locks, Romana was still a starter. Is it Derry? Is it going to be Tucker? To even your flankers, you know, Choate, and then you lose someone like. So when you're leading into that and you're chopping and changing, even right, you know, when Nipololala comes in as a quarterfinal start to this week. You need settle. You need guys to be really settled. And I think when you go back to how he was rotating and trying to build a really big squad, to then go and do that, he was possibly hoping that, okay, I can carry that on right through the whole season. But unfortunately, in finals football, and it's probably, this is just my take on it, you need those guys to say, hey, I'm going to be the number one prop. I'm going to be the number one, you know, lock, the number one flanker. And look at where they lost it. Look at where they lost the game. Those first 10 minutes were those key positions.
And I think they were clearly, in the end, the second best team in the competition. The best team ended up holding up the trophy at the end of the season because that's when it matters and that's when it counts. Pure and simple, they got the job done, the Crusaders, because they were in the end for the course of the season.
Absolutely no arguments there.
22 out of the 36 All Blacks squad members were there last night. Does it make it interesting in camp on Tuesday?
Well, they're in recovery mode. Oh, they'll get on with it.
They're in party mode, the Crusaders.
Yeah, they're in party mode, and deservedly so.
Yeah.
Deservedly so. Well done for the first time to win that trophy. That'll mean a lot to them. It really will.
It's amazing access right here in the dressing rooms. The moment that Scott Barrett takes the trophy in. How good is that? Something special. You have to appreciate that. You know, whether you're a Crusaders fan or not, you have to appreciate that.
Yeah, we're just sitting here going, gee, I wish I was in there.
I'd done that.
It looks fun.
That would be so cool.
It looks fun. But hey, look, there was one big win from last night, and that was the match officials, because we're not talking about them. That must be a good thing, JK.
Yeah, look, I spoke about Ben in the pre-match. I think that 2 years ago he was our best referee by a long shot, one of the best in the world, because he brought his personality and reffed what was in front of him. I thought last year it got a bit complicated for him, maybe trying to change his game or listen too much to what other people wanted, and he's back to his very best. The thing I loved about last night was the common sense around those shots. Now, we've got to look after the players' heads, Mills, we've got to do that, but I just thought both those decisions were the right decisions, and I don't know, 2 weeks ago or another ref, that would have happened.
No, absolutely not. I mean, the way he refed these situations, I know it took a little wee while. Look, that's a stick figure, isn't there? Hey, Nipo's sort of body height there, JK. You'd be happy with that?
Yeah, no, I was happy with that one.
I mean, reality is the fact that I think a week ago, we could have seen a different result.
Totally.
And bottom line, I think the common sense you're talking about, but the understanding of what a rugby play is, and those are rugby movements. Guys getting themselves and dipping into positions and looking to go into contact. Same thing again, if you watch here, Jack Goodhue, there are extenuating circumstances. David Havili puts him into the path of Jack Goodhue, but when he went end on, same thing, he had bended his legs, so he was looking to get himself there in attacking position. Now people go, well, once again, this is contact to the head, his own head as well. But bottom line, I think he could quite easily have been talked into this, Ben O'Keefe. What I'd hope, though, JK and Mills and Kirsty, is there's no repercussions for this. All of a sudden, World Rugby is for Ben. Because bottom line, we got a great contest without
got your back, mate. We got your back.
Exactly. And I don't want to hear from World Rugby the fact that, oh, no, you haven't followed the guidelines. Well, clearly, I think he's worked out in his own head and smartly. There are rugby plays in the game which end up in contact.
I hope this is going to be the case also when, you know, the Test series happens, because if it's not, man, we're going backwards. So this is now the standard. I think Ben O'Keefe's done a great job of that.
I think there's a couple of little things we need to realise that Ben did that were great. Nepo's body position, so he's fine because the attacker goes in right. But I also think Goodhue pulled out of it. When he realised that he was going to have a head clash, he just let it go, and he lost that contact. And I think, you know, we spoke about it, Mills, a couple of days ago. Is it taken this long for the players to understand technically what they need to do when they're in a situation of yellow or red card?
Well, it's been 18 phenomenal rounds of Super Rugby Pacific. Do you remember who you picked to take up the title? We know you. You too? Well, if you need a reminder... If you need a reminder, we're going back to week 1 of the breakdown with our predictions. We've all picked our top 4 and who will be the overall champion of Super Rugby Pacific. Just a note, these were picked before the first round of the competition. I haven't changed my mind though. I'm sticking with the Blues, JK, not just to make you happy.
There's no way I'm not going to pick the Blues. Now, so that's my emotional side. If you look at it, I think the Crusaders will be stinging from last year. Emotionally, I've got to go with the Blues. I think we'll miss Paddy.
Dad, I think they're going to win. They've built a nice, good squad, young talent over the last year or so, and I think they take it. Your Blues second. And I have to put the Crusaders in there.
I just look at this and go, you know what? This is a long season where the top 8 is what matters. That's what's going to count. You make the playoffs, I think all the New Zealand teams will do that, and then it'll come down to getting 3 wins in a row.
Well, we all got 3 out of 4 in the wrong order, though. Jeff, you got 2 out of 4, but you had the right winner.
Yeah, that's all that matters, right? You get to find the winner. Look, to be honest with you, I actually genuinely cared. I wanted the Blues to win last night, and I said that in the pre-match show because I just thought for the game and that crowd and for the moment and the season they've had and what it would do for the future. And I think they achieved that anyway. But deep down, at the start of the year, I'm looking at the Crusaders squad, I'm looking at the talent, and I've been there before. Look, I definitely, and you mentioned the fact they'll miss Patrick Tuipulotu. I think when it came down to it, at the very last moment, I think they did. They missed his work in the engine room, and that's where it went for them last night. So I just got lucky, let's be honest.
I seriously think, you know, I've been around the Blues a long, long time and Auckland, and I seriously think the Blues as a franchise have got their together, excuse the language. I think from the top right through, the planning they're doing, the high performance they're doing, the management, the CEO, the board, I think that this is the beginning. That's why I'm not that worried about it. I think there'll be great learnings. Like you said, Mills, Dalton Popoliki, those types of players that come in here. Paddy's got a few years. So I think we're going to see the next 5 or 6 years of Blues and Crusaders going at it.
I know you love the Blues, but there was another 11 teams playing in this competition, Super Rugby Pacific.
Really?
For the first time, we had 2 teams from the Pacific as well. Mills, what did you think of the competition as a whole? Even the Australians were better.
Loved it. I mean, you know, at the very beginning, it was sort of unknown, you know, the 2 Pacific sides coming into this competition. How were the Aussies going to, you know, compete, considering, you know, what's happened the last couple of years? And the format was actually quite, you know, was really good. So going forward, you know, stick with it. I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago, Goldie, that, you know, stick with it and keep at it. But the balance and even the rugby was was quite outstanding, and I was very impressed.
Loved it. I loved it. I thought the addition of Moana Pacifica and Fijian Drua was outstanding. I thought the Drua probably won that competition from a performance point of view, but Moana Pacifica had so much bad luck, Mills.
Yeah.
Like, they had COVID cancelled, but I think they're here to stay. I hope that, you know, Moana Pacifica get to go back to Tonga and Samoa to play a bit more, but it was outstanding, and I think the format is getting really close. I know they're talking about leaving the Australians, but I just think that's paper talk.
That's the thing. Is Super Rugby Pacific here to stay, Jeff? Because the chairman of Rugby Australia, Hamish McLennan, has come out and said all bets are off past 2024.
Yeah, look, they've got some big moments coming up. Rugby World Cups at home. They're thinking and trying to plot their way towards that. But I think this is just a pure power play in terms of trying to negotiate more funds for Australian rugby. I'm bitterly disappointed to hear him talking like that. When you commit to something for a couple of years, you commit to the Fijian Drua, the Moana Pacifica sides. How do you think they feel right now, Hamish, in regards to the fact you've opened a door for them and you're thinking about, we're going to walk away from this now because it's in the best interests of us, or we think it is. I'll make an example. Australian netball, right, is in the hole for $4 million. They walked away from the Trans-Tasman competition with New Zealand, and they've been worse off financially. That's the biggest sport in Australia. There's a danger if you walk away. To be fair, though, we also need them as well.
Yeah.
We do need them, and I get where they're coming from.
Do we?
I think we do need them.
More than they need us.
Well, I think you can see already there's been greater interest in this competition in Super Rugby than there was when we were separated and apart.
Okay,
we've created something. They've committed to it. And now they're talking about walking away. I'm really disappointed in this because this tells me.
But I want to
that
challenge that. I just want to challenge that. I totally agree with you, by the way. I think Hamish.
Well, you're challenging me on that.
No,
you agree?
Let me finish. Let me finish. I think Hamish puts the stuff in the media before.
Yeah, but the timing of this, before
timing
the final.
poor. I gotcha. But okay, let's be cold about it. My question back to both of you is: do you think that they would suffer more by leaving, or we would suffer more? I want them in the competition. I think they're outstanding. I love the Brumbies. I love the Reds. I love the Warriors. I think it's good, right? I think we need to keep growing together. However, my question back to both of you is, who's going to lose out on this? If they want to go, I think it's the dumbest political decision that they could make. OK, they've got the World Cup, but after this, who are they going to play? I mean, they're local competition. So I think that we want them to stay, but why are you throwing that into the media? Because I don't think, when push comes to shove, they would be able to improve the game. The NRL is thriving. It's outstanding. Yeah. Australian rules, they do a great job. They're struggling already to get back to where they need to get.
Is this going to happen, Mills, or is it all talk?
I think it's all talk. I'm disappointed too. I mean, purely for that fact that we spoke about Moana and the Drua. I mean, you know, here we are, for these two teams, for all these things we spoke about, how they've been, well, where's the funding for them over these last few years? I mean, they've been, you know, crying out for the here, and there. They finally get into a competition, and Hamish comes out and says, well, we're going to leave them. Well, yeah, all well and dandy these last couple of years. We'll just have them in there, but we'll throw them back out again because we want to go on our own. I think it's just all talk. I know this. I think he's the only one that thinks it's going to happen. Even the Australian players. Well, I think that we need each other. You know, this competition has been so great, and to hear stuff like that come out in the week of the final, that's just crap.
And to see the improvements they've made in the last 12 months. From when they couldn't win a game in Super Rugby a few years ago against the New Zealand sides. They picked up a couple last year, and all of a sudden this year we've seen, and the Brumbies proved it, they can compete and go well. So bottom line, you've started something, you've got to follow through with this. You've got to stick with what I think is a formula in the future. And then we'll start talking about whether or not this World Club competition and your Heineken Cup idea, but bottom line, we've started something, we've got to run the course.
Just to finish, is this about money? Because the way I read it, he wants a bit of our money. Sky money that we pay the New Zealand Rugby Union, is that right?
That's the way.
Did I understand? That's the way it read. But I'm sort of going, hey, don't you have to go and do your own television deal? So why is, I don't know what he's going for.
You make a great point, JK.
We've got to be stronger. We've got to work together. Don't play this out in the media. We saw how long it took us to get the Silver Lake deal.
Oh, yeah, don't go there.
Sorry.
We are going to be talking All Blacks very, very shortly. But first, I know last night wasn't the result that everyone wanted, but it was great, this rivalry that we now have, and everyone's excited about the Blues and Crusaders again. We relived the action last night from Eden Park.
What's brought us out here tonight is the ultimate dream Crusaders and the Blues.
Not the Blues!
Tonight it's history. How long have we been waiting for this final? New Zealand wins India today. Let's have a good time.
Years.
Oh, bloody amazing. When you've been growing up as a kid watching them, you know, last time was 2003 since we won the final, so pretty big moment to be here.
It's been a long time coming, eh? It's good for our community, good for Auckland. It's just what we needed, man.
Blues are going to drop the ball. The Crusaders are going to absolutely nail them.
I got all the numbers here, right here. 06. We're going to put it right here.
Right here.
Right here. Tonight. We're going to put it right here, right now.
So I was here in 2003. 19 years since the last time they were here.
This, surely, for the Blues, is the moment of truth.
I think it's great for the city. Like, Auckland's the biggest city in the country, eh? So it's nice to see the Blues, after such a desolate period, now a chance to win the Super Rugby competition.
Wonga lines up a drop kick, and it is over. Just short line. The numbers are there. Hall puts it on the line. It's a try.
We still have hope for the second half.
The scoreline, it could be better. Look at the crowd, it's packed. Eden Park's packed. It's been years since it's been this full. You can't beat it. Look at it.
What a great atmosphere. We've been amping all day to come here, knowing full well we were going to win, of course.
He's picked it up. He's in. The Blues are back in it. Wow, Finley Christie.
The Blues just scored, 15 minutes left, and I think the boys are going to bring it home. Last year wasn't the real one, but this year's the real one. Rico Ioane, he's going to get the ball, and then it's over. And then it's try. Oh, yeah.
Amazing! It was amazing to see the Crusaders whip the Blues' ass.
It's the best feeling in the world. We've won 6 in a row now, and it's just unreal.
I'm so proud of the boys. It's not the final that we wanted, but we still love the Blues. We are the Blues. Go the Blues!
It's going to be fantastic.
I hear there's lunch too.
Oh.
Even better.
Yeah, I know.
Fully catered.
Chop suey, potato salad.
This is the first fully catered All Black announcement. Mills will be here any second now. Come on, bro.
Who'd live in Auckland?
Well, I think that looks like us. That looks like us.
News team assemble.
News team assemble. She's calling Anchorman. Which one of us is Ron Burgundy? No, come on now.
It's obvious, isn't it?
Stop it.
Ki whare o Samoa. Welcome in. It is great to have you joining us. And it's tatau, the dance. No mai, haere mai, ki whare o Samoa. Welcome to the Whare o Samoa in Mangere. Playing our All Black squad for the very first time in 2022.
That's it there. First All Black squad for this season. It's back on Island. We'll just sideline over, just sideline over and, hey, how you going? What's going on?
I'll give you...
This is great for him.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think
So he was named as an outside?
Yeah.
And he was named in 10. It's an exciting team. It's more about the ones that have missed out. This could be one of the great All Black teams. Barrett. Start everything. Want to talk about the shit. You can hear the reaction. But no one's had to pick themselves up as much as you have, right? I mean, bottom line, you think about some of the things you've had to overcome, the operations.
I like the fact that the All Black coach has been very open about sort of answering questions that we have on their selection, which is always fantastic.
Yeah, lunchtime.
How do you reckon the feed's going?
Bang.
That is us.
Yeah, great food, great chauffeur, great day for the first All Black squad announcement of 2022. I want to know, how close did you get with your list? You had your list.
Excuse me, I think there's a bigger question. What happened to my invite, guys? There's only one of them. There's only one of them. Hey, what's going on? Like, how good did that? Was this palusami as well?
Nah, there wasn't actually. It was just chop suey. And...
It was delicious.
Ooh. Can't believe you brushed me. That's wrong.
Mills had 3 plates. Anyway, let's take a look at the squad. There were some notable omissions. No Cullen Grace, TJ Perenara, Brad Weber, Ethan de Groot, Luke Jacobson, to name a few. But there was also some exciting inclusions, weren't there, Jeff?
Yeah, absolutely. All of a sudden, you talk about new All Blacks, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, of course. Let's start Whainga Nuku, who performed beautifully last night. Stephen Perewhita maybe gets his opportunity. Peter Gausawakula was the interesting one for me, Mills. You know, we talked about it a little bit on the night. Bottom line, they're looking at him as a 6 who can play 8, clearly. So, I look at that and they've got a clear plan, I think, going forward. But I think last night made things very, very interesting. You're talking about matchups.
Excuse me, Mills, before you answer that, sorry to interrupt, but are we over this 6 that can play 8? I mean, are we seriously considering that again, or are we just going to go, there's 2 6s, pick one of them, there's 2 8s, pick one of them?
Well, I think they're going to do that.
So you think Sawakula's been picked to go on the bench?
No, or he can do that. He can do that, but I think they're looking for someone who's got size who can carry, right?
Are you picking Akira Ioane at 6 after last night?
Yep, I am. And I think Hoskins Sotutu, I don't know what you think, Mills, but I thought he was the best in a losing side. I thought he tried really, really hard, did some really good things, put some pressure on. He's starting to tackle very, very well.
So you're selecting him over Ardie Savea at number 8 for the All Blacks in the first test against Ireland?
No, I didn't say that.
Oh, you didn't say that? OK, so where does he fit in the mix?
13
Because once again, you do realise there's only 8 forwards. There's only 8 people. There's only 3.
I'd only have 3, but anyway, they call that 7s.
So, I mean, these are debates, I think, all of a sudden have got very interesting for me, Mills. The midfield yesterday, Jack Goodhue, David Havili, Roger Tuivasa-Sheck and Rieko Ioane.
I don't know why they took Roger off, but we spoke, Mills, before the game, and you've played midfield as well as fullback. We spoke about combinations pre-game, saying Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Rieko Ioane, Goodhue, or Havili, because you've only, the test is next week, people.
Yeah.
You don't have time to go, oh, you guys got to get together. So I think Havili was the player of the day last night, and you'd have to sort of pencil him in.
Are you taking stock on this game from last night, though?
I think you have to. I think what's come out of this game, more or not, is the fact that the mental side of things, OK, the next level, the next step in terms of the All Blacks, in terms of, having that mental hardness and also the experience, it's got to be a big factor, because you've seen guys that have been there. We were talking about the Crusaders before, that have been there, done that. They stepped up to another level compared to guys that they're on the other side that have been there for 1, 2, maybe years, or not even been there. That experience and that mental capacity, you've got to go to that sort of level. And Havili, for me, man, from a physical point of view and his ability to be able to take the pressure off Mo'unga, he was amazing last night.
So if he's at 12 for the All Blacks, where does that leave Will Jordan, Geordie Barrett debate?
Well, I think Barrett has to be at fullback now. He's got to be on the field regardless of what it is. I think what Havili's established now is he's the number 1 12 in terms of what he can do. His kicking game is awesome. And then when you go for a guy like this, he complements it as well, because he's hard running from the back. His ability to be able to kick for space, he just adds another threat. His goal kicking as well. OK, Will Jordan, he's been awesome, hasn't he, Jeff? And I know you've loved him at the back, but now he's probably a winger now, given the way that Havili's played.
OK, so do they play the Blues-type defence where Bowden goes to the backfield? Because one thing that Geordie does need to probably improve this season is out-of-hand kicking into space when he's coming back. That would probably be his biggest work on, Goldie. Yeah. So
one of the things you'd like to see him do better.
But do you just play his brother back there and put him in the front line defensively?
I think you've got the luxury of doing both. I think this is where you've got guy. We used to say, hey, well, you go up. I mean, we can chop and change and put him back there, because for a hard running game, you might want to play that sort of in the last 20 minutes or the first last 20 minutes of the first half, but have Bodie back there while we're sort of trying to win that kicking duel. I think that's a real strength of the All Blacks now, when you put guys like that in there, that you can swap them around in the defensive effort.
I've got to ask this question, JK. When you think about the nature of the contest last night, and we knew it was going to be tight, but one aspect of the game, the line-out, almost framed and changed the game. And so it was difficult for some of the Blues players to do the things that they've done well, that they will be asked to do in the All Blacks. So now I start looking at it and going, is it pure and simply that players are maybe a little bit more under pressure in terms of their initial performance? If you get the first chance, they'll trust and have loyalty to the guys who played well for them last year. They'll go, but you know what? We've got some other guys in a big game that stood up and played well. You've got your back line. You've written it down in the last 30 seconds.
I've got my back line. I think, now, the other question back to both of you is, if we don't play Roger Tuivasa-Sheck now, when are we going to play him? When are we going to know? So this is what I think happens. Barrett, Havili, Ioane. Barrett. I haven't decided on the wings yet. RTS on the bench.
I still think it's too soon. I think it's too soon.
12 tests to go. When are we going to know?
Yeah, when are you going to know? But bottom line, they want to beat Ireland.
No, 12 tests to go to the World Cup.
That's going to be the biggie. They've got to get back to winning ways in this next 3 test matches, you know. And do the coaches say, well, we've got to put our absolute best team there. Don't try and tinker things around or experiment until we win these, and convincingly, because they were under the pump last year in terms of the results they had. They've got to get back to winning ways, and this is a good chance for them to actually establish a settled side for the next 3 tests. And make sure it's a winning one.
I need them to be 2-0 up going into last game.
Yeah,
and
exactly. And then you get...
That's exactly what they'll be hoping to be doing. That the first job is to give the guys who are in.
So you didn't like my backline?
Yeah, your backline's fine. I mean, it's an All Black backline.
Who's on the wing?
I expect them to be good. Will Jordan's on the wing at the stage, and on the other wing.
But you want to see the guys that are in form, Super Rugby form.
Well, they performed last night. You'd like to think Lester Whanganuku. I tell you what, he was awesome. He was awesome. The hard thing is, Richie Mo'unga was awesome too. And we know how good Beauden Barrett's been. I don't know.
In every position, did the Crusaders outplay the Blues? In every position?
Correct.
They did, didn't they?
Correct.
Interesting. 9 of those Crusaders in the All Blacks as well, and a few that'll be chomping in a bit to get back in that environment. Trivia time. Remember, you can play this at home as well. Your question for today, and I'm sure these guys are looking forward to it. How many All Blacks are playing in Major League Rugby? The American competition, of course.
Well, he's signed all of them up there, so he would know.
Yeah, that's...
He's got his cut. Write down all the cuts you got.
Haven't 2 teams been, like, knocked out?
You should know. You should know. Have a think about it, and we'll give you the answer right after the break. But first, go inside the inner sanctum of Moana Pacifica in their first year in charge. No mai, hoki mai, welcome back into the breakdown. Well, it is trivia time. We gave you the question before we went to the break. How many All Blacks are playing in the MLR, Major League Rugby in America? Jeff?
We had no idea. Let's be honest.
Well, is this a team effort here?
Oh, yeah.
I'll be just throwing out a number.
It's a team effort, but I was the Blues. Didn't really perform.
Mills, who were you?
I was the Chiefs. I'm not too sure, right?
And I would come up with an answer. No, I got knocked out early.
Okay, well, if you 3 have absolutely no idea, let's take a look. How many All Blacks are playing in the MLR? There they are.
Oh, there you go.
Most of them playing for Rugby New York.
I got 3 of them.
Well, we had 3 written down. We had 3 written down, but I thought Wasaki was with the Crusaders.
No, he left.
And he got released, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, OK. Righto.
That is your answer. So 5 All Blacks, and you can watch all the MLR action, behind-the-scenes content, highlights, replays of every game. Sign up for free on the rugbynetwork.com. But time now to head to one of our Black Ferns, Chelsea Semple. Chels, it has been a fantastic couple of weeks for the Black Ferns. Well done on yesterday's performance as well. It must feel pretty good inside that squad at the moment.
Yeah, definitely, Kirsty. It was a pretty unreal 3 weeks. Obviously, much needed for us. Obviously, coming off the back of end-of-year tour last year, we didn't end the year how we would have liked. And our team's had a massive shake-up this year, whole new management, new captain, a whole lot of fresh faces in the team. So, to step up and play these 3 tests at home. We don't get home tests very often, so that was special as well. But to put those performances in place just in time before World Cup feels pretty good. Still got a long way to go, but yeah, it was an awesome 3 weeks with the girls.
Chelsea, so many players got so many opportunities in the course of these 3 test matches, but only the team will know. You would have done your reviews. Do you feel the team improved game on game?
Oh, yeah, definitely, Goldie. Our game plan has changed tremendously. Obviously, new coaching staff, and it's been a challenge for us because we've kind of played the same rugby for such a long time, and there's been a massive shake-up. So we weren't expecting us to be perfect in the first game or the second game or even in our final game. We're definitely still building, and there's still a way for us to go to be able to play the style that Wayne Smith wants us to play. But it was pretty cool seeing the improvement from the first camp we had at the start of this year, our camps throughout the year, and then from the first game against Aussie to the performance we put out last night against USA was amazing, and it just makes me and the team excited for how much growth we've still got left to do and where we can get to playing this style of rugby.
I love how you say new coaching staff. You've got the genius of all geniuses there in Wayne Smith. But the thing I noticed the most, Charles, from the Northern Hemisphere to this game was a completely different defensive confidence. It looked like you weren't panicking. Northern Tour last year saw people jumping out of the line, closing, other people drifting, but you looked really, really confident, getting off the line fast, really united. Have you been working on different systems around your defence?
Yeah, we've tweaked quite a few things on our defence. We have a really good defence coach in Wesley Clark, and he's been doing some outstanding work with us. But I think, JK, a lot of it also comes down to the fact that we're now fully contracted athletes, which means we're a hell of a lot more fit than we were at the end of year tour last year. And you know how it is on the rugby field, the more fit you are, the more you can stick to your game plan and keep your connections. So defense, you don't just have to fly over the line because you're short. We're actually able to get around the corner and stay in the game for a lot longer. So I think definitely the work that Wes is doing, the confidence in our own ability as players now, and the coaching staff really empowering us is helping. And obviously, yeah, just our fitness is definitely helping.
Charles, you talk about the fitness, the better you are, you know, and also fully contracting that, but that creates competition. You know, it's been a really good environment, and you know, you can see that, you can sense it. How hungry is the competition within the team? Because there's only a few spots up for grabs when it comes to starting 15.
Yeah, I mean, I've been involved in this team for over 10 years now, and the competition has never been this healthy, in my opinion. The thing with the team this year, with Smithy coming on board, is that everyone is just purely picked on form. Nothing that you've done in the past or any of your history, which gives every girl an opportunity to put their best foot forward and put their hand up to be selected for World Cup. And I mean, that's what you're seeing. We saw young 18-year-old Sylvia Brunt make her debut this year. We saw Ari Hiana have her first start at number 9. Things that in the last kind of 5 or 6 years haven't happened as much. So the team being picked on form and those kind of selections being made has given all the younger girls and the less experienced girls, it's given them hope, I guess. And it's just showing everyone that no one's safe. You have to be playing in-form rugby to be selected in this team. And if you're not playing in-form rugby, you've got no shot at the World Cup. So it's really healthy competition, and it's exciting, and everyone's on their toes. And it's just the hunger in the team is better than ever, because at the end of this tour, you know, all the girls are talking about is getting back into our hubs, training harder, ready for our upcoming trial match in about a month's time, ready to show why each of us deserve to be in the World Cup team. So it's only going to get better. We're going to be fitter. We're going to be stronger. And yeah, I guess the best team in Wayne Smith's eyes will be selected at the end of the day.
Charles, you're going great guns. Thank you so much for coming on our program, and congratulations on picking up the Pacific Force Series undefeated.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much. Chelsea Semple, absolutely fabulous performances.
Flying on learning and growing.
Yeah. It seems so different.
But all of a sudden, though, clearly New Zealand Rugby's put support in around the group and around the team, given the opportunity to flourish, which is fantastic.
There are so many things there, right? Bringing in, as you said, the Master and Wayne Smith being professional athletes, which means they can dedicate, you know, their lives to this. It is fantastic, and the World Cup is coming at the end of the year. One other thing before we go, Josh Lord has been ruled out for the season with an ACL injury. Sam Whitelock still has a broken thumb. What do the All Blacks do?
Patrick Tuipulotu.
That's it. Just
Is he available? Is he available?
Well, he should be available. Right? Didn't he have a sabbatical?
Yep.
He's back.
If he's, well, bottom line for me, if they pick up another injury, they've said they're not going to replace him right now. If there's concern about Sam Whitelock, I wouldn't be surprised. If Patrick's fit and available and ready to go, he comes in the environment.
Well, all will be revealed in the next couple of weeks. 13 days until the first test against Ireland. We will be back, same place, same time next Sunday, and we will be talking about the All Blacks. And congratulations once again to the Crusaders. Absolutely phenomenal effort.
Let's go.
This, surely, for the Blues, is the moment of truth. Hall puts it on the line. It's a try. It's a try to Brett Hall.
I hope they hear me.
He's picked it up. He's in. The Blues are back in it. The kick. Not gets the... Oh, Sevu Reece. Something out of absolutely nothing. That's well and truly done. The Crusaders have won another final. And the dynasty continues. The first Super Rugby Pacific title goes to the Crusaders.
Breakdown is brought to you by Nurofen Duralast. Available every day at Chemist Warehouse.